Anyone who knows him, and no one knows him better than you, Jason, anyone who has worked with him, beside him, dealt with him, knows that he is probably a little uncomfortable with all of this. I say nay.
Yeah.
Nay, be comfortable. You deserve it.
Well, he's so much. I mean, you and I, like, off the court, like, golfed with him. How much fun is he? Like, he's just awesome at his craft, awesome person, and I'm glad he had the last two games, really, 2-9-9-9, and then yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be great if we could talk to him.
I wish we would.
Well, let's go to the phone.
Let's do it.
From Oklahoma City, Mr. 3000, the OG man himself, Gary Gerould. Gary, it's Dave, it's Jason, it's Jay. Congratulations. What I imagine you've had a permanent smile on your face for the last 24 plus hours.
It's been crazy. There's no question about it. The phone rang and I thought it was, first I thought it was Dame Lillard, and I thought, well, he wouldn't be calling me. And I thought, well, maybe it's Nick Batum. But I guess it works out. I mean, I'm happy to chat with, what were your names again?
I'm Jason. That's Dave.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, G-Man, when you signed off yesterday, all we knew on our end was that you were asked to be escorted to the locker room rather quickly. We've now seen the pictures. They're iconic. The videos. It's so great. But take us from your sign off to the moment in the locker room, which truly was special.
Well, I suspected that something was going to be happening because that had never occurred before. In 38 years, I've never been told to, do a quick wrap up and get to the locker room as quickly as you can. And I got a text along those lines, I think in the fourth quarter. And then we had a bit of a problem getting a microphone set to talk with, for our walk-off interview with Domantas Sabonis. And then immediately after we started to chat, I'm getting wrap-up signals from the floor and waving, come down. And then I look over my shoulder and Paul Johnson, the general manager of the Stockton Kings, is standing there saying, we need to go now. And so, okay, we put a period on things and we head to the locker room. And as I'm not sure what to expect. And there are a lot of people outside the locker room. And I said, what's going on? And they all look at me like, well, we don't know. We're waiting to find out. Okay. So I just kind of stick my head in the locker room and on the periphery, and all the players are there and they're waiting for the usual post-game quick wrap up from head coach Mike Brown. And it's a couple of minutes before Mike and the staff walk in, and then the whole thing just unfolds as you saw. And I was just absolutely flabbergasted. No question about it. I've never experienced anything like that. It was just, it was overwhelming on so many different levels, but so memorable. And I mean, the response from people has just, I can't wrap my head around it. I was up until 3:30 this morning, just going through, I spent almost 5 hours just trying to sort through Twitter. Wow. I haven't been on Instagram. I haven't been on Facebook or Messenger. And throughout the game last night, I was constantly getting text messages and people offering congratulations and encouragement and one thing or another. And it's just, it's unlike anything that I have ever experienced, nor will I ever experience again in my lifetime.
Well, hopefully you get some free time today, because I can tell you your Facebook is a traffic jam right now. I was on it this morning. And we were, everyone was trying to honor you in their own ways. I posted a video yesterday it was just a really quick clip of you speaking. We want to say in 2011, before that what we thought was the final game, and just how eloquent and how Jason really brought this up, how Grant and Jerry's sign-off was so unbelievably sad. And in your broadcast was actually as uplifting as it possibly could be. It was an interesting contrast, and both were fantastic. But we started talking, G-Man, about how that conceivably we look ahead now 12 years. But I'm curious. Let's say the team did move and they moved to Anaheim. Are you done? Are you retired? Are you? I imagine you put a little bit of time into the thought. Or what would have been next for G-Man had things gone the wrong way?
Well, it's a question that I really don't have an answer to, because at that time, and I was thoroughly convinced that, after the talk about it was what, Virginia City and Las
Yeah.
Vegas and Anaheim and San Jose and then Seattle. And obviously the intent was to move the franchise on the part of the Maloofs. And then the whole business about Seattle, as we all well know, it was gloom and doom. And it was really, really difficult those final weeks from the middle of January when we first heard that, you know, it's first and goal on the 1 yard line or something like that for Seattle. And to go through all of that angst and anxiety and all the drama and yet try to do your job. I look back on it now and I really believe that would have probably been the end of the line as far as I'm concerned, because if they move a franchise, you know, you don't want to bring along the person who's been in another market and is identified in that market as, you know, your new radio voice or TV voice or whatever it happens to be. And you want somebody with a local identity. I mean, that's how I got the job in the first place when the Kings came from Kansas City. So I really expected, and it was depressing, that would be the end of the line. And I love what I do so much. And to look back now, all these years later, and think of even though there's been, you know, we haven't been in the playoffs in that time, but still, it's just, you don't know night to night what you're going to see. And that game number 2999 is a perfect example of that. I mean, that one is as good as it gets, period. Playoffs, whatever. I mean, games like that just don't come along. That's a once in a lifetime type of an experience. So it was just totally off the charts for that game. And it was interesting. I heard you guys mention in the last hour, what if that would have been, had I not been ill that one game?
Yeah.
That could have been 3,000 right there. In fact, initially when the season started, that's the one that I had circled to say that's going to be number 3,000. And my goodness, that would have been even more unbelievable.
But I'm kind of glad, like we said earlier,
Yes.
G-Man, that I think, you know, that game almost kind of gets its own. I mean, that's legendary. But I'm glad you got this game. I mean, it is really an honor to you, to your years for this organization, for this community. And I think what everybody is really pleased about is how this year we're all seeing the way the team is playing. How much more fun for you is a season like this that has kind of come out of nowhere.
Well, it's so reinvigorating, and everybody, I mean, fans, broadcasters, people within the organization, you know, there's an extra bounce in your step, and you're happy. You find yourself smiling. You find yourself thinking, and I've talked about this a couple of different times, that, you know, when the Kings were new to Sacramento, and there were so many years where, you know, you just toiled and, you know, tried to find success. I envied announcers from other organizations, and I told them, frankly, I said, I envy you because your team is such that I know you have the confidence on any given night in any arena. You know that your team's got a legitimate chance to win. That's what I want to see happen with the Sacramento Kings. Well, it finally did happen. Late 90s and into the 2000s, of course, with those 8 playoff years and the great run with Rick Adelman and company. And for the first time since then, I'm starting to get that feeling again. And like Dave, you mentioned earlier on, Sacramento, we're almost afraid to hope.
Yes.
Because we've been burned so many doggone times.
Yeah.
But it's coming. And it's so gratifying to be with a club. And I hand all the credit to Mike Brown and his staff that he has assembled. What he has done in terms of defining roles, demanding accountability, getting everybody pulling on the same rope in the same direction. It's just so doggone refreshing. And from Vivek to Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox, everybody in the organization feeling like we're on the right track and exciting things are happening. And, looking at, the Kings tickets are now becoming a hot item again. We got 20 sellouts or something this season, and it's only going to get better in this stretch run because everything is so jammed up in the Western Conference. And because of that, I always caution, you can't take anything for granted.
Wow. You
stub your toe and you can take a nosedive in a hurry because it's still, I think, only 7 games that separate 3 through 13. And I love being in number 3. And my wish, my fervent wish, as this all plays out, and we're scoreboard watching now, and we're saying, oh yeah, we got some help today because Phoenix lost, or we got some help today because Minnesota lost, or whatever. You want to be in the top 6. I don't want to risk being a play-in scenario. 3 months ago, I would have gladly said, oh man, play-in scenario, that's great. But look how our expectations have changed over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Gary Gerould with us, Mr. 3000, as we wrap up. Got to ask you, because other people are asking too. You started out the conversation saying you're up till 3-ish, whatever in the morning. I like to believe, and you can confirm or deny this, were you in the mirror doing poses with the defensive player of the game chain? And did you take it off before you went to bed? It was iconic,
yeah.
G-Man. It's just the pictures were iconic. And I like to think of you flexing in the mirror, perfect hair right before bed with that Deepak Jain right across your chest.
Well, unfortunately, there was such a scramble to get out of the arena because we had some really nasty weather that came through Oklahoma City just as the game ended. And some of the reports were truly frightening. And they were saying, there can be surface winds up to 90 miles an hour, I was hearing. And they were saying, we got to get, and Mike Brown, after the presentation of the chain, he called everybody together and said, look, if you want to go to the hotel, we can go right now. We'll send a bus, and don't shower, don't do anything. But I don't want anybody outside. I don't want anybody trying to walk to the hotel, even though it's just adjacent to the arena, for safety concerns. And so there was a mad scramble to get as many people that wanted to get out of there and get on the bus and get to the hotel. And then a few minutes after we get to the hotel, the tornado sirens are now sounding outside. They're coming on the intercom in the hotel saying, attention all guests, all representatives and service people in the hotel, take shelter immediately, stay away from windows, go to an interior, bathroom and close the doors. I mean, it was the real deal.
Wow.
And that kind of brought the touch of, reality about life to what had been a frivolous situation. So it was kind of somber in that respect. So to answer your question, no, I didn't have the defensive player of the game chain around my neck. I had to scramble and run back upstairs and get my stuff and race to get on the bus before it left.
Well, I know that you and your humility are contagious, and we could use more of that in this world. But you're talking to two guys here, Jason especially, who's working alongside you so much that everyone's talking about how great you are. Everyone's talking about how lucky we are. And I know let me just say this. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for it all. And you have been the narrator through good and bad for many of us growing up literally into being Kings fans. And I'm just so happy not only that they're good, but they're good this year for you. And I know you're in the hearts and brains of a lot of us every single time a W gets on that board.
Well, you're very kind, and I thank both of you and for the time. And I'm the lucky one. I'm blessed that I can still do what I get to do, and I love that opportunity and the people I work with. And it's just it's a marvelous time. Thank you so much.
Hey, did you see Jason crying in that video? By the way, I'm just saying he was crying at the end.
Emotional. I mean,
I did. I lost a G-Man.
They called me. The video team called me into a small room. I had 15 minutes before I had to be upstairs, and our pregame show went on the air. And they said, "We need you for 5 minutes. I want you to look at this." And they were filming, the reaction and one thing or another. And I was, again, just blown away. They did such a marvelous job, and they did it on basically short notice. And so we're getting down toward the end of the thing, and Jason's getting choked up, and I'm kind of taking deep swallows myself and just thinking, wow, this is extraordinarily cool.
You deserve every bit of it.
Absolutely.
Here's to 3001 and beyond, G-Man. And, of course, Gary Gerould calling the game tomorrow right here on Sactown Sports. Thanks so much for joining us. Keep posing with that chain, and we'll talk to you soon, G-Man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.